Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Rebellious Ruth on this lovely Tuesday evening. Apparently, it's cold fronts heading into Cape Town, but here in Gauteng, we've had some warm and lekker spring weather. And tonight, I have also a marvelous man with me. He's more of like a wonderman. He is Jacques, and from Pretoria, from my hometown, bro. Welcome.
How's it, everybody? Yeah, thanks, Ruth. Thanks for having me on your chat. Forward to our conversation tonight.
Excellent. So, tell us about yourself. So basically what we're talking about addiction tonight, and the courage to, and the inspiration for you every day to overcome it. And I think your journey, I mean, you spoke to me a couple of weeks ago on the phone, and I just thought, wow, you are rocking. Like, every day is just fabulous. Like, okay, so let's start from the beginning. The Joel.
Okay. So the Joel, well, maybe we go a step before that, because it's always interesting to explain, where I came from. I was born in Hong Kong, and
Wow.
so we lived overseas for a stint, and we came back to South Africa in '85. Primary, and I went to Pretoria Boys High after that, and it was. I think I had a good childhood. We didn't struggle. Everything was like well, what can you say? We didn't have to like beg for food and that type of stuff. So we had a comfortable life.
Yeah.
And then matriculated from Boys High in '95. Studied computer science. Did the whole programming stint. And I think that was probably the first bite of, let's call it boozing and partying. Was the first job. I think that's really where it started to take its toll. It was just the normality. Every day, all day, it was acceptable in a way. And in the corporate environment, it was seen as okay. We were in the insurance business, so it was, it's what happens. Brokers drink, they lunch, they party, they do what they do. So you get sucked into those circles, and you play golf and you weekends and all kinds of things. So it's just a non-stop normal. It's normal behavior in terms of having a beer at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's just, there's nothing wrong with it. So and it's fine. I think you go through those years, and I've had time to reminisce about it. And then all of a sudden, when I resigned there after 14 years, I went to Santam, and it was a totally different setup. The directors were very clean cut. I learned a lot from my colleagues at TRC, but when there was a party, there was a party. But when we were entertaining clients, these guys were drinking lime and soda. I couldn't fathom what was going on. I was like, what's going on here? Now, can't we just climb into that bottle of Captain Morgan behind the bar, and but I was on the road, so I was entertaining clients, and I was playing a lot of golf, and I was up in Africa. And when you're up in Africa, you get lonely, and you sit in the pub and you watch the football with a whole lot of other oaks from all over the world. So again, it's just, you're just in those circles, and you're lunching with clients every day, and it's just what it is. And then you get out of that, and I don't know, in this whole mess, you get sucked in, and you get sucked in fast, because you're just chasing the next bigger, best thing, the next bigger, best title, salary, whatever, your next car. You just need more automatically the whole time.
Okay. One second, hold that thought. I just want to say hello to our viewers. Hello,
How's it?
Tottenham, Gentle Incredibles, Joking Atheist. Yes, Jacques already tuned, has it? And yeah, Corlia, Penny Williams. Cool. Welcome to the show. Yeah, okay, sorry, so I interrupted you there. So yeah, from drinking lime and soda, okay, so you experienced and you were like, okay, let's open the Captain Morgan. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, but it was a different setup to what I was used to for the 14 years. So, looking back now, working in that type of environment, you had to be clever about your drinking habits as well. So it's all part of that addiction that you now understand so much better. Yeah, and you're just chasing the next salary and the next this and the titles, and it just compounds so quickly, Ruth, that by the time that you look back, it's 20 years later. Since you started working, you got into the workforce, you got a wife and 2 kids, and you pretty much even if you had $20 million in the bank, you still would have been the most unhappiest person on the planet. So I don't know, it was in the sales management game, the pressure just got more and more when they gave us the 2019 or 18 targets.
Yes.
I said to them, guys, we can't go 30% growth. It's just not going to happen in this economic environment, and our products actually suck at the moment, so we've got a bit of a problem. And they went ahead with the stuff, and then we had the listeriosis. I don't remember if you remember that whole situation.
Yeah.
And we basically hit the whole year's target in like a month. They then, after the fact, changed it, and they didn't want to pay commissions, and it was one big ball hack. And they really started drinking, I promise you. I'd get home in the afternoons because a flipping MD and my commercial director were driving me up the wall. And I promise you, I put a whiskey in like half an hour. No jokes. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, bang.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I said to my wife, I can't do this. I'm going to die.
Mm-hmm.
So
how is she? I mean, I know I'm going to have her on as well, but how is she coping? I mean, was there fighting? Was there? I mean,
by that stage it got a bit ugly already. We'd had some domestics and not like just like verbal.
No, but verbal hurts just as bad.
It's always verbal, and it's always looking back now. I can't remember many of them. Sure, remember all of them probably, and it's stuff that you look back on and you go, why? But it was what it was at that stage, and luckily, I think for me, I had the opportunity to. Well, I'll tell you the story of how it came. I resigned from that sales management job, and I had a 2-month like what do you call it period to give them notice period basically. Yeah. So I gave them notice, and then this director started getting all funny, and then eventually me and the HR manager sorted it out, and I left early. And then I did some job interviews down in the Cape, because now we were like, okay, let's move to the Cape. We wanted to go down there for so long. Cool.
Were you still drinking? Were you still drinking?
I was going there. I was probably, I was going for gold there. It was a great time. I was doing interviews in Cape Town, but I was flipping out of it most of the time, so it was really bad. And I got back, from that week, my wife and my kids picked me up from the airport, and I was still slammed there. I got onto the plane, actually, to be honest. And then that night to Platteland, my wife and I and the kids were at home, and we went and we had another jolt till like 2, 3 in the morning. At least my wife was with us, but it was flat out. I was sick for like the whole week after that. Yeah. But we had to go to the marriage counsellor on the Monday morning, and then basically that was that. So she just said, no, he's drinking too much, and he must sort himself out. So I had some things to think about, and the guy that was helping us, with Andre, he basically said to me, Jacques, you've got time now, man, just flip and check in. And I'm like, what? I must check into rehab. Are you mad? No, man, I can, he's like, Jacques, we've had this discussion for the last 5 years. We need to, there needs to be progress here.
And you need to evolve.
Yeah, you need to maybe look at this thing a bit differently. Maybe, just maybe, you can't do it on your own, So yeah,
And this was, sorry, just refresh. This was what year was this?
This was 2018. It was 2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I resigned in end of May, and then June I was still down in Cape Town, and July I was in rehab. Well, basically, like the day the 2 days after the party, that whole week, that was the last of the last.
How long were you in rehab for?
Yeah, it was 21 or 24 days. But I'll forever be grateful that I did that. I think, I had a stigma about rehab, but I mean, where I was, it was a bit different. So it wasn't a 12-step program. It was a more psychotherapy program to really try and understand maybe, past trauma, when you were a kid, stuff that happened to you during your life that you maybe think you've dealt with, but subconsciously, is still bugging you. So there was a lot of that. And I think there was a lot of, I think the one thing, I always talk about the drama triangle now, and that's the one thing I've learned, it's like being the victim or being the persecutor or being the rescuer. We can't be any one of those three, because otherwise we're in trouble. And the problem is the whole world is like that. You can I can walk out of this door now, and there'll probably be a bit of a triangle that I'll need to remove myself from.
Hold on. So it's the victim, repeat the triangle. Sorry.
Yeah, it's the persecutor, the rescuer, and the victim. So if you draw the triangle, it doesn't matter which one you are, you're probably creating drama in some form or format. It's codependency. You need drama. You need to be in other people's gardens permanently, just trying to uproot everything. You can't do anything on your own, basically. It starts with self-love at the end of the day. I think that's really what it is.
Well, ironically enough, that was my first stream. That was the very first stream I did. That was my first stream, ironically enough.
You see, so that's the whole thing. Self-love is what it is, and we don't get taught to love ourselves first. I don't know, so there's a whole lot of stuff that I learned, I think, in rehab. I think more about myself, more about traumatic events, like stuff that happened in my life. And there were things that happened. I mean, I had, we could talk about things, but there were personal family things that had happened. Like there were 2 incidents. And then, I mean, the big thing for me was obviously I had a big breakup after 8 years, I think, that I never dealt with. And then there was, 1 or 2 small little things. And then my psychologist looked at me and said, Jacques, but you see what's happening if you put all these things together, is that when you were 6, you didn't have a voice. And when you were 17, you didn't have a voice. And now you're 40 and you get intoxicated, and you're going to tell everybody exactly what you think and exactly how you feel and exactly what they are. Well, my opinion, obviously, at that stage. And so basically, it's given me this platform to be confident and probably even overconfident and tell people where to get off permanently. I mean, that's the type
but
of
you were always very confident. I remember you always being very confident. I mean, you were the manna. you gave us a mania. You were always...
No.
I don't know, like, I think maybe I'm too, like, it's from a different perspective, but I mean, we always used to jol. I mean, yes, when I think back to Backaroos and Nemesis and Estlin Street and, Sunny Park and, oh my Lord, like, times were different and we were free as kids. I mean, it was a different time.
We were free as kids. I mean, we could, we used to walk through Sunnyside and we could walk all the way from Berea. From Waterkloof, we could walk to Bloedstraat in the CBD and then walk home at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it was insane times. And again, it's like I said earlier, it's just like, beers when we were in matric was was par for the course. You know, you get to a guy's house on a Friday afternoon and have beers. You know, get to his house on Saturday, we'll have more beers. Where we're going Friday night, beers at Shaft. You know, it was all, and everybody was there. It was like this normal thing. And I think it is. Some guys are fine. You know, they just don't. They never get to that level. They look at you and they go, "Shit, how do you pump so much of that stuff in your body?" And you're like, "Yeah, you must just harden up," you know, because that's the level of insanity that you're operating at. But the jolling, yeah, I mean, the shafts and the flipping. I mean, we had an awesome club scene in Pretoria, you know, at a stage.
Yes, it was Tequila Sunrise, McCoy's Shaft. What was it? Lollapalooza, Strange Days, Nile Crocodile, Buckaroo's Nemesis,
McCoy's. Yeah. And not only that, I mean, there was like, what was that place, Bourbon Street on Leonard Road? I mean, that place was a mess. We were studying there, you know, we were studying the Oaks every Friday and Saturday when that place was open. We were there. I mean, it's just one big, you know, if it's not Friday and Saturday night, you know, it'll definitely be one night of the weekend.
Yeah.
It was crazy times, you know, but when you're 21, 22, you can get to bed at 4 o'clock and be at work at 7 o'clock and be fine. You know?
Yeah, and only catches up with you at like 6 o'clock the next evening.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, or you just go hit the lunch at the bowling club and you're fine by 1 o'clock. You know, it's just it was crazy, you know, if I look back. And I was saying to a mate of mine last night, I think we've had like 4 birthdays, you know, from 20 to 42. It was like 20, 30, 40, and then 42, you remembered. You know, it's like, it's weird. It's yeah, time has flown. So I'm glad I made the choice. And for me now, it's an easy thing. It's a lifestyle thing. I don't miss it. Let's put it that way. I don't miss the barbalas at all because, like I said, 21, 25, 29, it's fine. But when you get to 40, it's not fun anymore. It's painful.
In fact, I would say from like 38. I don't know. My liver started tuning. How's it? I'm here. I exist around about that time. So yeah.
I'll tell the story about So I think I was 29 when I got married. So I mean, we obviously had a huge thrash from our bachelors in Mozambique. We were like 20 oaks. It was a debauchery for 4 days. We were supposed to go for 4 days. We ended up going for like 8, I think, or 7. We were there for a week, and then we came back. And then it was my wedding. And I woke up the next morning and I wasn't feeling halal. The next day we had to fly out to Zanzibar. I woke up, I was dead. I was just cold sweats. My wife she's probably sitting here going at the moment, you know, because we had to cancel everything. Okay. But it gets better. It gets better, Ruth. It gets better. So that that vow that you made, you know, for sickness or in sickness and in health, that came into fruition very early in our marriage from our beautiful wife.
She is beautiful.
And so she had to, so flights cancelled. We're not going to Zanzibar. We can't get tickets to go now. We've got to book in February. Long stories. Any case, now we're in the car and we're going to Jeffreys Bay. So on the way down, I'm driving. I get out of Jeffreys Bay. I can't move my knee. It's swollen like this. So my mate rushes me to hospital. They do an emergency arthroscopy. I'm on crutches. They give me painkillers. This is a week after we got married, eh? We haven't been on honeymoon yet.
Wow.
Now they've given me...
Kijk wat ek nou op. Yeah, but anyway, okay, yeah. So you I mean, this is like your honeymoon. It's supposed to be the best week of your life. And something's slowing you down.
But none of this had anything to do with the amount of alcohol that was consumed for 3 months solid before the marriage. I mean, so I'm just drawing the picture.
Yes.
Yeah, so that hadn't happened. Then I got operated, and then I think I had like 3 stomach ulcers from the pain medication that they gave me. So we basically, we were still going to go down to my parents. We didn't even make it down there. We had to turn back. She had to drive me home. She had to stop every 100 km so that I could get sick from that flipping stomach ulcer. we got out of hospital, and the first thing I did was popping painkillers with brandies, you know, it was like that. And then it was, wow. But I mean, that didn't stop the insanity. Yeah, so, so, yeah, that's basically my story. And then obviously the last 2 and a bit years have been the turning point. But it's come with its challenges. It hasn't just been a plain sailing. It's actually been it's been more difficult without the drink. Just the adaptation and just, you know, the rewiring of my think and my habits and stuff. It's just been, it's a work in progress. It's a daily thing.
So, but what made you? So your psychologist just and were you in denial? Like, were you told before you have to go to rehab, and you were like, no, I don't need rehab. Rehab's for quitters. But like, or was it at that point in 2018 that you just you realized, okay, my marriage is now on the rocks. I love my wife. I need to. What was your lowest if I may ask? What was your rock bottom moment where, I don't know if,
I think my rock bottom moment actually only came a year after the fact. So, and that sounds weird, but it only happened last year when my mom passed away. It was so chaotic. And I just stayed focused because, I mean, I was like early off the booze, and, you know, 12 months is still early. We've gone, if you look at the psychology and how the brain works, it's about 24 months. So if you don't, you know, consume for 24 months, after that, your dopamine levels are pretty much leveled out again. And then we can move forward, you know, from there without, let's say, potentially running a risk. So going into a pub and all of a sudden going, you know, just downing beers and shooters, you know, on your first excursion. So I think I'm pretty much past that stage, but I think the lowest low was last year. So the first I see, what was it? I'll tell you now. Elizabeth, when did Jacques decide to go to rehab? Was he inpatient or outpatient? Did he replace his one addiction for another? How long is he sober? Key. So yeah, so that pretty much is 2018. It was my decision to go to rehab. So I wasn't forced to go to rehab. I think that's a very important thing that people need to remember if they ever think about sending someone to rehab. I think it's you've got to, the paperwork you sign says you are admitting yourself here.
Yes.
And it's for you. You know, you're not doing it for, you know, can't do it for your wife or for your kids. You've got to do it for yourself. So I think that conversation at the marriage counselor that morning, she just said, you know, this guy's drinking too much. And he was like, I agree. I think we need to do something about it. And he's like, this is what I suggest. And go and read up about, you know, Beethoven Recovery Center, and go read up about Lucille Zwemstra, which is the clinical psychologist. And Phil Yoon at that stage was my psychiatrist. Still new to me, remember. I think I only saw a psychologist in matric once. Well, my mom thought I was a problem child.
She wouldn't have been a bit wrong. No,
but I'm sitting there and I'm going, yes. And I can see this conversation, the whole thing is just unpacked in front of me. And I'm going, what is he on about? I mean, and then my dad came in and, you know, the second session, and I think then it was my mom and my dad, and then the fourth session was my dad again. And then after the fourth session, my dad got in the car and he said, no, Jacques, this oak is completely mull. I said, yeah, but I've been telling you that for the last 3 sessions. So that, you know, that was my brief, let's say, history with psychologists and psychiatry. And I grew up in a house where, you know, depressie word uit jou uitgebliksem. It's as easy as that. But you're just down because you will get a clap and you will get told to go outside and enjoy the sun. I mean, that's how my mom was, you know. And there was no time for sad, come. And sometimes, I don't know, you look back at it, it goes, it's not, sometimes a kid just wants to also deal with that emotion, you know. You can't just
No, yeah.
deal with those emotions, because I really don't actually know why, but I'm a confused like teenager. We think we know it all. We do it all.
You're a
We are
human
human.
being. We all, yeah.
Yeah, so these are like the stuff that I had to like open my mind to say, okay, because when I got into rehab, well, when I left Andre's office, I got home. I walked up and down in my garden smoking one cigarette after each other, and I'm like, this isn't happening. They're gonna ram me in here, and then I had to remind myself the whole time, no, you're gonna admit yourself into rehab if you make this decision. Then I'm on Google. Now I'm checking this place out. 5-star ratings, everything looks kosher. Okay. And now I'm procrastinating, and I'm thinking, the addict, things like label.
Like your last one, the ender.
Yeah, but now that he's told me already they've got to organize me a bed, so it could be 2-3 days.
Okay.
I'm like sorted, and then when I pushed the WhatsApp and I said, "Okay, Andre, just arrange it," and they phoned me within like 10 minutes, and they said, "I've got to be there tomorrow morning at 8:00," and I'm like,
"You're like, damn, I still need a few days." But yeah, well done.
Yeah, so that was that, and the weirdest part was my mother-in-law was still here. And they were here, when all this was happening, and my wife and I weren't talking much at that stage. And yeah, I phoned in the next morning. I was like, "How does it work? Do I drive myself there?" And they're like, "Sir, just tell us, are you sober? When last did you drink or consume?" And I'm like,
yeah.
No, I'm all right. So then they're like, "No, then it's okay. But if you've taken anything or had anything to drink." But then when you get there, you hear all the stories, then it gets very interesting as to what guys do, like right at the gates, just before they go in there. It's total insanity. It's like a case of Black Label and a whole 8-ball of Peruvian, and then they waltz in there. It's crazy what that stuff does.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, that was the beginning. So there I am, scared as. I promise you, I was scared. If when you drive into those gates, you're full of fear. But yeah, it worked for me.
Yeah. Well, what do you think when you look back at the fear now? Did you feel it was rational fear?
No, I mean it's tough. Yeah, I mean you're going again. When you've been there, you understand that there's people that are really suffering. There's people that are really ill there. And some of the stuff that it's not their fault, and they're just trying to deal with it.
Well, they say a disease. I mean, it sounds cliche, but they say a disease. I mean, yes, they say addiction is actually a disease. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to slap that label on it, but I mean, yeah, that's just something that I've heard. I mean, don't quote me.
Yeah, I think it is a disease. I think I've heard, people have different opinions. People say, yeah, but if you say it's a disease, then you're empowering the addict. And if you treat it as a disease, then when they book themselves into rehab, it's seen as going to hospital, like it would be to, remove your wisdom teeth. But you're going to touch your head, which is, your emotions and everything that's going on between your 2 ears, and that mess that you made for yourself, in some instances. And nobody's perfect. I think we've all got our own little messes, and
100%.
people deal with things differently. If you see it and people book into rehab, then it's not that bad. It's just, okay, he's going to rehab. Why? Because he's got a flipping, he eats too much. We talk about addiction, and it's not only just booze. I mean, we've got to over the counter meds problem. I think
massive.
Now I've started to research that stuff. It's actually flipping scary what's going on out there.
Very scary. Very.
And I saw it in rehab, but I never knew that it was there. I mean, there was this one act that was popping like 150 pills a day, opiates. I mean, he was in lockdown for like a week, with withdrawals. It's crazy what over-the-counter meds are doing.
Yeah.
But he doesn't buy the packs of 30. He buys them in packs of 2,000, like this. at a time. I mean, it was insane hearing some of those stories.
But I'm sure they don't allow that anymore.
I don't know, but there's definitely people doing funny things.
There's a problem overseas. Like, they've made the laws overseas so strict you can't even actually get yourself a flippin' panado if you need it. So, as you say, there needs to be balance. But I mean, Gentle Inflatables asks here, Jacques, the detox. That's the next step. Was it yeah?
Yeah, it's the detox is always rough, and I think that, you know, especially with the volumes that I was consuming, you know, I'd have to, you know, refill daily at least to keep myself going. Otherwise, I got pain and flipping all kinds of stuff. And going into rehab, obviously, you're under medical supervision, which I think is probably the one thing. Because my GP, old Robert Sherman, he said to me in the right, like 10 years ago, when he said to me I was drink a bit less. You know, he said to me, Jacques, but you must watch out because, you know, if there's one withdrawal that will kill you, it's alcohol. So I was like, what? Man. And it's fact. People die from alcohol withdrawal more than any other, you know, withdrawal. So you've got to, you know, if you've really been on it heavy, you need to be under medical supervision. They must check your blood pressure and they've got to give you whatever chemicals. Again, you know, when you get in there, you get a whole, like, there's just pills, a lot of them. And we can maybe discuss that. But I think, you know, the psychotherapy part, you know, and the program for me at Beethoven worked very well, you know, because they talked about science and they were going into like really understanding the science of the brain and understanding how that works and understanding that some people just don't have a choice. You know, for me to walk into a place that serves breakfast at 7:30 in the morning and order a beer was normal. Okay. People would look at you and you go, fuck you, man, who are you? I'll have a beer at 7:30 in the morning. I've got no problem with that.
Yeah.
But it's not normal. I mean, it just isn't. And it's just that constant. So yeah, so it's been 2.5 years for those asking how long I've been, but by the end of the first week of rehab, they've basically given you enough sleeping pills and stuff to be through the worst, I would say. Okay. And then it's, you know, you're gymming every day and you're starting to do things and you're doing arts and crafts and all kinds of stuff. And your brain's busy, you know, you're busy repairing what the damage you've done. I think, so I had that opportunity and I'll be forever grateful for that.
And you did it for yourself, which is, I think, key. So
yeah, that day in my garden, I just said to myself, well, you know what have you got to lose? You know, does booze define who you are? No, maybe in a bit, yes. And you know, that happens after you. I think everybody thought, yeah, whatever, this Ike will be drinking in the next 4 months. There were a lot of guys that never thought I would stand here 2 years later and say, well, I haven't had one hangover in years. So.
Well done. Well, really.
I haven't had a drunk fight with anybody. I mean, that's amazing. I didn't have to bribe any cops. Yeah. No.
So I thought of a question, but we can get to it later. I want to talk about your garden because you mention it a lot, and I take it you're an avid gardener. My next sort of question would be: you spoke about self-love and your journey, and realizing that you had to love yourself. And I mean, some people, you tell people love yourself, and they look at you like you're stupid. Like, oh, what do you? Of course, I love myself. But I think to really understand and not be a victim, not to realize nobody owes you a single farthing or a sausage. Like, I think for me, my trauma in my life with my mother, whatever, came from a victim sort of thing. And maybe I've become, in my little triangle, I've become the rescuer. I think if I look at it. But I mean, I'm still working, and I think I've still got lots of work to do myself. But I mean, so what also made you realize when you started loving yourself more, when you realized, wow, I schmark myself, man. Like, I'm who I am, and I don't need to prove myself by finishing a bottle of this or that. Or, oh, yes, I also remember social situations, but we'll get to that as well. Okay, so answer. Sorry, I tend to splatter all over the place. Maybe it more.
What exactly do you want? No, but go back to the first part now.
The first part was discovering, like, your first realization of self-love, or just looking at yourself in the mirror and going, yes, that dude, yeah, yes, worthy, and
Yeah.
letting go of that sort of issue on the shoulder, or the realizing that the person you've had a forever with actually loves you, and then letting go of all the cuck.
Yeah, I think it only happened like last year, December. So, when you come out of rehab the first time, so I'll explain the story now. But when you come out of there, I was proud of the fact that I'd gone through this journey, and I felt positive about life, and I had a different, like, view on the whole world and everything that was going on. And I think in a way as well, I was already making my little triangles, because now I want to rescue all these oaks that have got problems, and and that also doesn't work. So, because you've gone through the steps, you understand the science, you're applying the stuff. I've got a plan, and I'm living and working the plan daily. So, this can work for anybody, but it can't. People need to want to do it for themselves. They need to want to get sober. They need to want to, experience no hangover for flipping nearly 2.5 years. And then you start to see life differently when you don't have those pains and groans and terrible guilt feelings in the morning. So I think, I think that the self-love thing really only happened last year after my mom passed away, and I had to go back. I had to go back there because that was part of my plan. I got back, and I went to see my psychologist, and she's like, Jacques, you are really, I don't think you're going to drink. I don't think that's the issue, but you're rock bottom now. If you think you were rock bottom last year when you got here, no, that was nothing. And she was right, because I didn't love myself at all at that stage. I was in a terrible place. But I think, being there again for 2-3 weeks, coming out, and, really just focusing on me for a change. And I'm not saying that I didn't focus on me, but I was focusing on me, but the wrong things in me. So it's always like, we talk about Jacques always cycling, or Jacques always riding his bikes, or Jacques always doing this. But that's all, it's not, what do you call it? It's not, there's no substance there. When we talk about, I don't know how to word it for you, because it's funny how I saw life in November last year. It was a codependency thing. I needed drama in my life that fueled, and I could either rescue somebody, or I could play the victim and be persecuted by somebody, or I just go for the persecutors. It'll be a persecutor on persecutor type of situation. And in November, December last year, I think that was the first time when I said, I'm all right with myself. Here where I am now, I'm good enough, and it doesn't matter what anybody thinks or anybody's opinion about me. Today that changes, and I think that's, now with lockdown, it's been a bit different, and I've had a couple of struggles. I think everybody has. We've had our ups and our downs. Roller coasters, rolling and rolling. It's been wild. The one day it's fine, and then we get so pissed off with these politicians, and the more you look at it, the more crazy it's getting. And you've actually just got to. One of my friends actually put it beautifully the other day. He said, "What do you need to focus on? Not this big economy. You need to focus on your economy. That's it. Just forget about the rest." And I think that we need to start doing more, and that you do more when you focus only on yourself. But this isn't normal, our lives haven't been normal. So it's been another, year of a bit of this. But I think we're better off at the end of the day. My wife and I, the family, are closer than we've ever been, which I don't know is a good or a bad thing, because the kids don't want to go to school, so it's a problem. This is an issue, and this causes problems when they need to go to bed and when they need to wake up. There's just no structure at all.
Structure. Well, I was speaking. Oh yes, so actually, a friend of mine who I'm also going to have on the show, her mother she's a rehab psychologist, and she's trained her 2 daughters, and some of them have quite severe physical and learning physical disabilities. But you wouldn't. That's the amazing thing. They've done so much work with these children that to look at them, you wouldn't even notice it. And they structure so the children. Sorry, I'm segueing here a little bit. And you're welcome to read a comment next when I finish. So they get up like normal, 6 or 7 o'clock. They stand outside their rooms. They ring the OPA rings a bell, and they do roll call. Then they sit at their desks in 2 different rooms, and they actually do online learning, but they do it in their own rooms with their gran. And she goes, and they've got to have their books ready, and they've got to have their homework done. And it's this on Sunday. She was telling us about this, and I was like, wow. Like, I know in my house, I don't think I'm structured enough to do that. I mean, I've been working out lockdown. I mean, I've had these 3 weeks off because of the foot up, which has been a respite for me. But yeah, I think a lot of people are struggling with structure at the moment. And yeah, well done for, my son also, he said to me at one stage, you don't care for me if I get CODIF. You'll just send me to school. I said, Nate, you go to a small school, so you getting it are not huge, and you'll probably survive this. So toughen the fuck up, and and he loves school, thank God. Cool school. But yes, so any questions that you see that flash out at you that you want to look at?
No, I saw the one guy. I'll tell you now.
Yeah, have a scroll. No pressure. Guys, when you write a comment, write at Jacques. Yes, it highlights it on.
See, Elizabeth said, Jacques, the recovery is forever. Do you agree you need to take time out to center yourself and be a bit selfish to regain control? 100%. I think that's probably your plan when you come out, is to understand that your life is going to be so, and people are going to look at you different, and that you've got to be. That's fine, because you've got to learn or relearn that is none of your business. So even if it's their opinion about you, is none of your business. So when you do that, you seeing things differently. But yeah, it's always. I don't like to say that I'm in recovery. So that's the funny thing. You won't hear me say that often. I think, it's like I'm 2.5 years off the booze. And, recovery is something that I think I'm better now. I've got to get to a stage where I say, flip, I'm healed, and I'm carrying on with my life. I don't need it. There's no place for it. And I've made that mental decision. And I think I've rewired at a subconscious level now, which is where I've really won. So that's really the psychotherapy and the stuff that I did with my psychologist. I think that's really what it's about, is rewiring it. And your subconscious needs to understand, it needs to stay at bay with certain things and certain memories that aren't relevant anymore. Stuff that isn't relevant anymore, that you like reminisce about. That oak that bullied me at school. No, don't worry. It's done. It's over. Buy him a beer when you see him again. We got to get over resentments. I think we walk around with resentments, and I talk about resentments now, and I go, my wife will walk in here now and say, what did you say, Nana, yesterday? But you have to be mindful of what you're hating today, because that stuff really plays out in your life, I think, in more areas than you would like to admit. So yeah, it's important to be mindful of your thoughts. Lockdown's been difficult for that. We've only had devices and, news feeds in our faces. People didn't know what was going on. I didn't have booze. It was the illegal smuggling of flipping the worst cigarettes known to humans.
No, it was
a crazy time. I mean, to see these operators is just it's beautiful. And we're sitting in our houses, everybody's distant. So I think I was still smoking after my last year after my mom passed away. So I stopped 2 weeks before lockdown because I saw this thing coming. Yes, and I suffered. I wasn't well for like 2 weeks. I still had to go to the doctor just before lockdown happened. I still had a huge chest infection. It was bad. So I stopped. My wife carried on. And then obviously the 3 weeks became 5 weeks, became ballad chommy, and everybody just dropped cigarettes off. I don't know. It was insane.
Got some solid oaks in that corner. And yeah, you talk about, like, you brought up social quickly. I think Kat also had a question, Nana. Oh yes, about your garden, but we'll come to that right at the end. So social situations, do you think, I think there's this total ignorance when it comes to drug addiction. Total ignorance. I mean, a friend of mine who's a recovering addict went into hospital for a hysterectomy, and the doctor automatically there was no questionnaire of, she went to a government hospital, there was no question of, oh, are you a recovering addict? And I think they gave her some pain medication, and she'd been sober for over 10 years, and now because she'd had this pain medication, she had to fight with herself and say, well, is it, have I sort of lapsed now, but that's, I'm segueing again. That's me. I segue. But
I think that's it's an interesting topic and subject again. And I think everybody's different, Ruth. I mean, everybody that I was in rehab with, that I still speak to, is different. Our stories are sort of alike. The chaos, all the family damage and the relationship damage and all the other damage. They're all the same. Those stories are all the same. It's just the people that are different. But obviously the level of addiction, I think, is something that varies in people, because some people are hooked to, booze, like me. And then there's guys that do booze and then they get on the cocaine train. And then you've got guys that do booze and they do pills, over-the-counter stuff. And that's the opiates. I think that's where it gets dangerous, because when you can't get the opiates, that's when you end up in Sunnyside doing heroin. Yeah. We watched it the other night. I mean, opioids are 2 steps away from black tar heroin. So, those are your options. And again, I didn't even know a lot about the stuff. I've researched it now in the last 2 months to better understand it. Sorry. Yeah, to better understand this opioid problem, because it's on like TV shows and all kinds of things. So obviously it's a major problem. And the celebrities have been dying from Oxycontin for since the beginning of Oxycontin's existence.
Yeah.
Did I break up?
No, what's the word?
Oxycontin.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's opiate. It's opioid. So it's morphine, all those type of drugs. So you've got guys with different things, and I think some of those guys will come out of rehab, and they won't be able to do anything. They won't be able to drink, use normal mouthwash or any, cough syrup or anything.
Yeah,
any of that stuff. And I'm sure that there are those people that just they cannot. For me, it's never been a thing. I mean, I use my mouthwash and I carry on, and I'm fine. I think I'm over that point now. I know I can handle myself without that stuff. I think I'm a better father. I'm a better person, I'm a better husband, and a better father than I've ever been. I think there's things that I'm working on now that are really, I've got to dig deep, because things have changed for me. The way we talk about social circles and going out. I came out of rehab. I was on a game farm with a bunch of drunk oaks. So everybody's different. Half of the guys that were with me in rehab would have relapsed straight that weekend. But I'll tell you. So what happened was, I went to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock on the Friday night.
Yeah.
The next morning I wake up. My mate comes to me. He's like, "Listen, did you guys hear anything last night?" So I was like, "No." She's like, "Thank goodness," because the other two oaks, got into a bit of a brawl, and then everybody wanted to leave the farm at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm going, you see, this is why I went to the special place at the mountain, because I would have been right in the middle of that mess.
Yes.
A total disaster.
Yes, and then you lose. I mean, I remember there was some kid who broke up with his girlfriend and got totally motherless, literally. Lost his car keys, lost his wallet, trapped home. The oak, he moved over. How the hell he didn't, like, seriously impact, like, the garden furniture? Then eventually pulled a garbage bin, climbed up on top of my roof. My dog went mad because she heard this noise, and then passed out on his couch. And I was like, what the hell's going on? His door was half open, so we could see him, like, stuffed on the couch. Meanwhile, he had to make a full-on apology because he was completely, like, he didn't even realize what he'd done. And I mean, oaks must get up to so much horrendous stuff. Like, I'm talking, abuse, GBV. I'm talking damage of property, damage of cars. It's like, it doesn't make sense.
Sorry, I would just like to say for the record that I'm the victim of GBV. Yeah. and it was always because I was hammered, and I'm talking about from like when I was 18. So from my first girlfriends, used to flip and gooi me with hamburgers and smack me on the head.
But you doing stupid cuck. Were you doing stupid cuck? You're putting their lives in danger.
No, brandy is bad. Hey,
I'm grapes.
I'll show you towns you never knew existed. I promise you.
Lekker. Yeah, okay. Oh yes, your garden. So I take it you've got an amazing. Sorry, my technical guy is saying, closer or further? Closer. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so a lot of, I see there's also someone asking about your garden. Do you love your garden? Do you love being in nature? You talk about, I love the bush. I do.
Yeah, I do. I've always, I don't know, since I left school and really got into the bush more. I've got a passion for the bush. I mean, it's just, it's an amazing. I think that's like South Africa. The only thing, that I would ever miss if I had to leave here would be the African bush. That bushveld smell, and
yes, when you wake up in the morning and the sun's coming up and you smell that earth, you smell that baking earth. Oh, there's nothing better, hey?
Nothing, absolutely nothing. And I think, I love the bush. But it's weird. My wife and I, we don't water our garden at all. So we've got this like LA type of garden. And when we moved in here, we got a quote to do the garden over. It was like 50 grand. And I was like, no, it's a bit steep. We're not going to do that. And we started one neighbor brought 2 trees and we planted that, and then it's gone. So my gardens is an awesome spot. And I think now with lockdown, because you've looked at it for 6 months solid, you start to appreciate the little things in life, which is quite cool.
Yes. Have you been? So obviously we confined to our places before 10 o'clock at night, and then before that it was 9 o'clock. I think people are getting used to their homes, but I mean, you spoke about the politicians. Are you scared of getting COVID, or your family, or where do you sort of fall with, because our community is sort of on the right of if we get it, let's hope to, because look, every single person I know, bar a very, very elderly, not Desmond, what's his name? Buthelezi. Mangosuthu Buthelezi. The man is 92 years old. He had his birthday, I think, on the 26th or the 24th of September. He survived COVID.
Well, this is exactly that. No, I'm not fearful of it at all. I think we all fit and strong and young enough to if we get it, we'll be able to. If we haven't had it already, who knows? I mean, we were feeling both a bit illish, like just as lockdown happened. And I mean, the asymptomatic stuff only came after the fact. But again, with that just before lockdown, when I was at the doctor, he gave me Zithro, which is what the Nigerian doctor was, in America was saying that's the cure. And I agree 100% with him. And you just pop that stuff in a aspirin and you sort it.
Wait, Zithromax is an antibiotic. What is Zithromax?
Zithromax, yeah, it's an antibiotic. It's 3 pills, bang. It's all for like upper airway infections. And you got to thin the blood. It's fact. These things are facts, and they're still on about vaccines. That's a total different conversation.
Yeah, that's another conversation.
A whole lot of boxes, but again, no, I'm not scared of that. And they're making it very difficult, I think, for us at the moment, politicians now, especially in South Africa, and even all over the world. They've got us right there. Nobody knows what's going on. Everybody's crying this is bullshit, but it's just being swept under the carpet. Nothing's happening.
Yeah.
But the borders remain closed. But SAA did its first flight to New Zealand direct. Did you see that?
Actually didn't.
From OR Tambo, I think, or I don't think it was Cape Town. It's from OR Tambo to Christchurch, straight 12.5 hours, and they just hugged the Antarctic all the way through. It's the first time a SAA plane's been in New Zealand. They did a repatriation flight.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is the whole thing. Now there's guys in quarantine in New Zealand, and I'm going for what? Nobody's died from this thing. It's not as big an epidemic, pandemic as what.
I know. I was expecting to my neighbors to start me to start smelling smells and stuff. Like, okay, some worms died. Call the paramedics or someone and come get them knocked down and bally police. Hier bally police, daar's 'n reuk in die lug. Not at all. Not at all.
I think the one great thing is about the whole thing is I think it's just maybe waking people up to like hygiene and personal hygiene just that bit more, We're all washing our hands more often, we're all sanitizing more often. We're not all in each other's faces breathing. That hasn't happened yet. I'm sure it's going to happen. I mean, festivals with 100,000 people, I don't think are over. They're going to happen again. Trust me.
Please God, I'm having proper social withdrawal. Thank God I had friends who realized the importance of social interaction. Because if I had only 4 friends in this world and it's funny, it's Biden, like Democratic versus Republican. There's some people that feel that if you look, I'm respectful of the mask in the situation that I have to wear it. Okay, Zehu, that's it. But if I only had my 4 lefty friends who believe, fuck this straight, if you get it, I'd be miserable. I would have slit my wrists long ago. Thank God I have great people in my life to have kept me going. I see you checking comments.
Elizabeth is
she's a wise one. She's a very wise one.
And she's saying, doctors tend to think drugs will fix mental problems. And we also discussed this before the call, but you get all these drugs when you're in rehab, and then a lot of sleeping pills because you don't sleep when you're consuming or abusing, and so they give you this hectic flipping sleeping tablets, and then when your sleeping tablets are done after 6 months, you just ask your doctor to renew it. Cool, and he does that, and then after 9 months, you say maybe I must just read the sleeve, and then it tunes. No, you mustn't drink the stuff for longer than 5 months at all. Yourself, and it's a bit of a problem. So I had to go the CBD route there, and I got a mate who makes CBD capsules, and I started taking that. Yes, and I slept like a king, and I could straight off the schedule sleeping tablets and drinking CBD pills, and so I think there is natural, remedies that you can use over big pharma. I think that has to be your end goal at the end of the day, unless you've really done so much damage to your brain through like serious drug abuse or alcohol abuse that
or trauma. Do you think trauma, do you think psyche and trauma, I mean, some people don't ever come right from trauma. That's a fact. I think there are stories, or they're somehow affected, whether it be paranoia or a social thing. Look, by the way, I don't know if how's your time looking?
No, it's fine.
Want to get a glass of water or a Coke or something?
No, it's all good.
Okay.
Grab a coffee now.
Okay, sweet.
I'm quite pumped. See, these things make me. I'm passionate about the whole, like being a better version of yourself type of thing. And I think once you've seen it and once you've been there, and like I said earlier, Ruth, it's not easier. It's been a hell of a lot more difficult, especially for my wife, I think. And if she agrees to, speak to you, you'll see the other side of the flip coin. That's the difficult part for me sometimes still to chew on. But again, I'm at a point now I go, that's like the long gone past, Jacques. You've got to reach a stage where that person is like, you'll still hear the story at the braai, the same story. The fourth time you say, guys, that was the old Jacques, and we end this, set the boundary. We don't have boundaries either. That's a big reason why we just drink like flipping total hooligans. We've got no boundaries when it comes to this type of stuff, especially in South Africa, I promise you.
Yeah, yeah.
And we don't have boundaries with each other. We don't respect each other's like privacy and like the triangle. We're always there. We always want to move,
So what are you saying about the triangle? Are you saying that everybody in the whole world is either one of those three things? Or are you saying that, okay.
You're either one of those three things.
Or all of them?
99% of anything, go into a work environment and you'll see there's drama. So the bosses might be the victim because, shame, he's got to pay salaries and there's no economy and ara. And then the persecutor is actually his wife that's sitting at home, right? And then what happens is she persecutes him. Then what happens is he gets to work, he becomes the persecutor and he takes it out on his workforce, right? Then the workforce becomes the victim, right? So at home he becomes the victim. And then you just move in this whole drama triangle throughout your whole life. So you called breaking free from the victim trap.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I would recommend anyone to read it because my wife will even tell you, as I begin met sy driehoek stories wil ek skree. Because I always go, and so maybe I should put the garden point more in perspective as well. When I talk about my garden, I talk about my garden. So what's happening here with me? And I think the most lesson that I learned last year, I learned it the year before that, but the focus was more on just not drinking than it was in my emotional health and my mental well-being. Is that I'm one person and one garden, right? Relationship is one person or one garden. See it as one unit, and your wife or your partner or whoever is another garden, right? So you've got three gardens. And then you've got like one big wall around all three, right? And there's one gate in the front. And I think that's really get is that she's still got her own life, right? And I've got my own life. And I've got to be happy on her own. I can't make her happy and she can't make me happy. Decide to put into this middle like garden, which is the relationship, should be positive, because if it's negative, then it shouldn't be there. Right, so then I need to deal with my negativity and not put it in here so that it affects her. But the thing is, we don't do that. We're having like parent-child conversations, screaming and shouting all the time with each other. And so just to understand that I've got my garden and I need to sort out things, and these are things that I can sort out for myself. I don't need anybody else to do it. Right? So I'm not codependent on anyone to make these things happen. I don't need you to be there. I'm okay on my own, and to really reaffirm that. I think we always need to be together. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? Why didn't you do that? What's wrong with your hands? Why didn't you do it? If it bugged you so much, go and do it. You know what I'm saying? Those, we still don't think like that. We're still the victim, or we're still the persecutor.
All right. Okay. But now hang on. You're in a symbiotic relationship with your, I mean, I think I still say this, the sexiest turn on for any man or for any woman, sorry, is when a man decides he's going to help his wife out around the house. Like whether it's packing the dishwasher or washing the dishes or washing the car or keeping the kids entertained so she can have a lekker long bubble bath. And the same with the wife, maybe taking the kids away, don't interrupt daddy, or there has to be some sort of a symbiosis, you know. But I get what you're saying, 100%. But I still feel like maybe I'm coming from a bit of a victim. I don't know. Like, look, let me put it this way. I think poor TG is full of me because I mean, my foot's been in a. I mean, my foot's been. I haven't been able to move around as much as I can. Okay, let's look at me. I'm not such a great mover and shaker, but but hopefully once his foot is better.
I remember those dance moves at Beckery's. I remember them.
Oh, were you watching? Ah, lekker, man. Yeah. Can still jive. Ask Melissa. She's in the comments. Yeah, yeah, okay. I can still shake it, hey. Yeah, yo. But no lekker. Okay, well, I sort of segued there, but you were talking about, yes, and I believe we have to be our own people, and we have to, again, love ourselves, love our own stuff, because no one else, if you don't love yourself, no one can love you truly, because you're always going to come with drama.
Exactly. No? You're gonna look for it elsewhere, and then you're gonna expect it elsewhere, which is not how it should work. It just starts with you, and I think we forget that. We always look for the faults of other people. Remember, it's always the thing on the outside. No, but it's the 80% on your inside that you need to look at first. The 20% on the outside that's affecting.
Correct. Exactly.
And I needed to again, because my wife to me yesterday or the day before yesterday, and she was like, "Oh, no, I've been mindful of it the last 2 days. I'm just reaffirming that to myself, because you've got to rewire your belief system. Your belief system is buggered. Your belief system is probably just like yourself. You don't think it, but your subconscious thinks it the whole time."
And another important at a holistic health fair, because I used to be a student selling massage and when I was doing my practicals, is that you utter, whether you say, "Oh, I'm such an idiot," guess what? Your ears don't switch off. So your ears hear you say that, and it tells your brain you just called yourself an idiot. Your brain listens to everything you speak. And it's something that I spoke about in my self-love. It's a quote by Gandhi. Your words create your thoughts. Your thoughts create your actions. And this whole sort of knock-on effect about how we want ourselves to be. What kind of people do we want to be? You have to speak kindly to yourself. And someone in the comments, I think it was Wisdom Drops or Cat, you have to be kind to yourself. Because no one else is going to be kind to yourself at the end of the day.
No.
What no? You agree or no, I'm wrong?
Nobody's going to be kind to you. The thing is with our society is that we think everybody should be kind to us. Otherwise, they just don't think about my feelings. But why should I care about your feelings? I've got my own shit to sort out, True. We've all got our own gardens. So sort out your own garden, sort out your own economy. Really focus inside on how you can be a better person to your closest people that really matter.
Correct. Because so often
we entertain a lot of shit in our life and a lot of shitty people that we should have cut off a long time ago. And when you take booze out of the equation, you all of a sudden see, shit, I've got nothing in common with this oak or this chick or whatever, those people just fall by the wayside. And it's a lightning experience. And then unfortunately, you still have some of your male friends, that just stick by your side. But every year, when you you celebrate your anniversary, because I believe it should be celebrated. I think it's.
And I saw you did celebrate it on Facebook.
Yeah, for sure. I got a cake. I mean, my mate Ryan Martin and his wife Susie sent me a cake. I mean, those are true friends. You know what I'm saying? Those are guys that will be with you till the end of the day. And it's funny how, the circles have changed, but the core guys, most of them are. But the rubbish has just dissipated. It's gone. And
Yeah.
I think it's a good place to be.
No,
to
it
clean your house once in a while.
Clean your garden, keep your garden, yeah.
Keep your garden clean, but keep the fleas out.
Yeah, weed your garden. Yeah.
Garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that have been asking questions on like.
Okay, so let's look at a few.
We've got mushrooms and all kinds of stuff, and then they tune me about the cactus. Guys, it's not quite. It's just normal aloes and like cacti, but you can't eat them. I don't boil them. So
no, what's that one? What's that? Yeah, I think I would puke my guts out if I took that. I think I'd probably end up nearly puking up properly my stomach, because I think I've been carrying so much drama that and I'm actually, I'd love to do it, but I'm more scared of the purge than it's weird. But have you done it?
No, I did, like back when Nile Crocodile was open. There was one. Oh, well, I won't mention the names, but he was walking around with a jar. I just giant by but I don't know. It did nothing to me. So I don't know. I think that I just put it in honey and then he brought it along to the Nile.
Oh.
But everybody's hammered. Everybody's been drinking 2-liter drafts, and the next thing was like dishing out cactus. Yeah, so that wasn't, my thing. I was never did, much hard drugs. Booze is really my poison. And then I see the guys asking about like mushrooms and all kinds of stuff. It's a personal thing. I think you need to decide what's good for you and what works for you. If you've got anxiety and you're on a whole lot of scheduled medication, you need to ask yourself, is there a natural, way to microdose certain things to handle it and get off the chemicals? I think that's a question you can ask yourself. But again, be wary about where your mind is. I think that's just from our side.
Talk to a professional. I mean, if some people don't have bucks, well, guess what? There's FAMSA. FAMSA charges minimal rates. You might not always get. There are helplines out there. I don't know. I just say reach out to people. If you don't have a friend, people are lonely at the moment. And I've been punting this the whole time. Be aware of the elderly. If you see an elderly person with their trolley behind you, let them go first. Smile at them, even with your bloody mask, so they can see your eyes. I just think they deserve so much and they get so little. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit sentimental there.
For sure. Is there any more questions?
What's area? Okay, wait. I don't know my scroll button here. If I scroll too much, I don't know why I can't. Hold on. Maybe I'm tuning the wrong side. No, it's not that side. No, I think we're pretty much done. But I mean,
yeah. So I mean, that's basically been my journey. But I think I've actually said to my wife now. I think now for the first time, since the first stint, I really feel normal again, if that makes any sense. Like I could walk into any conversation or any place and not feel. I think in the beginning it's like you've got to explain why it's become like, okay, the guy doesn't drink.
And everyone's like, why? Like they interrogate you.
Then I go, if they go, why? Then I go, Pretoria's too small for me to drink. And then they just laugh. But they don't understand the implication of what happened.
They've got no further thought about it than their nose. They don't understand that by chugging the half a bottle of Jack or Bell's or Jameson or whatever, or a case of half a quart, you become a doos. You become a flippin' doos.
Yes, it was weird. I think I also realized towards the end that that you can, if you're angry, you've got that resentment and you start drinking, it just ends up in a total disaster. If you're in a good mood and you're happy, usually it can go on. But sometime, it's like what you learn at rehab. My psychologist said, Jacques, nothing good happens after 10 o'clock at night in any case. Go and check. Then you go to your first wedding and you check. At 9:45, the couple start getting like this. Yeah, as vir huis toe gaan, as vir ry. And then everybody's like, ABF, ABF. And then they're actually having shooters at the bar. And the next thing you see is 2 o'clock in the morning, and these couples are all mirroring each other. There was a movie that Wonderlist. Yeah, if you watch that, have you watched that movie? Watch it, because that is like that's like every single wedding I've ever been to is like that. It's one big.
And it's funny how. Sorry. It's funny how, and the people that have the worst, I think, addiction always end up at the bar the last. They're always the last ones to leave.
Yeah,
you think, they always have to be escorted out the door and told, okay, sorry, we've cashed up, last rounds, you need to go. And then they'll still argue with the bartender, oh, give me one more, just one more, and then there's this whole drawn out affair of then the poor waiter or the barman's waiting there. Meanwhile, his taxi's arrived and everyone's gotten on the bus. Or, it's also selfish, I think, to an extent.
Luckily, I think there's some places that just, they've just learned. But there's other places like Old Boys Club where you're paying $100 or $200. Those barmen will work till 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So, our 20-year reunion, the guys, I organised the golf day. We started off at 6 o'clock on Friday morning at Zwartkops. We were carrying oaks out of the clubhouse at 1 o'clock. They were already finished, right? Then we went out till 12 o'clock. I got an Uber home. The next afternoon, we were back at the school. We're still blotto. We went all the way through. Some of the guys were still at the club at 11 o'clock on Sunday. They were still on the party. Nobody in the history of the school has ever done that. It's never happened ever.
Hey, 94, 95. What year did you matriculate again? Well,
95.
Epic year.
It was a good year. And then there was a guy, 93, old Elton from Pitton, and he said to me the other day, he said, Jacques, but you actually have a problem here. Problems. And I was like, yeah, we did. But we, good guys, I think.
Yes, free life. I think, sorry.
No, we did. We did have a free life. We had, I would have done things a lot differently if I had to go back to school now. Again, you see the guys, you rekindle bonds, and friendships that, the oaks are flipping fantastic oaks that you went to school with. Yes. Somehow you also missed out on some of that, which also led to some sort of inferiority complex. Which
we were worried. I remember, God, look, I've never been a fashionista. I've never followed I've always been the odd one out in whatever situation. And I think I don't know, I didn't get docs. I got some other kind of docs or I don't know, I was always different. I don't care now when I look back at it, but back then, and also my mom was a single mom, she was growing up and the money thing never bothered me. I never got affected by it, really. She always did her best for me, but I think we were so consumed about what car you drove. I remember my mom dropping me off at a party and she had this old Ford Cortina station wagon, 2-liter. That awesome. Thing was a tank. Yes, I wish I had that car now. Flipping out.
Exactly.
And it was an automatic. And I'm like, don't drop me in front of the gate. Just drop me here. Just drop me on the corner. Now I have to watch you go in. And it was so safe back then. But our parents back then were also like, oh no, you have to just be careful. And we were so safe actually when I compare it. Well, God forbid my son ever tunes me, Mom. Back then in 2020, things were so safe. Can you imagine? Sure.
It's just life. So I think again, I just try now. I've tried to say lockdown is over in my mind. and we're carrying on. And I'm just grateful, that we're still here, and my wife and I are stronger than we've ever been, and I'm stronger than I've ever been. I think that's really.
Amen.
That's the crux of the whole matter, is that it is possible and you can get help. So if there's anyone out there that's struggling and wants to contact me, reach out, send me a message. We can have a chat. I don't have a problem. I don't rescue people anymore. Tell my story. I can give you advice, and then you can write your own story. I think that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Okay, so you want to send out, you'll send me your email address, and then put it in the comments there. Hey, the man's an awesome look at him, he's waxing. And then you said you've actually gone back to school, you're studying again. Okay, well, chap your
email. So I think it's been a weird, I was in I studied computer science, and then I went into business development at Santam, and I did sales management. And at the beginning of the year, still sales and this and that, and what's going to happen. So obviously, my wife and I started discussing, is immigration a thing? Is it, are we going to go to the Western Cape first? So we had all these ideas, and I started thinking, if I needed to pivot and if I needed to go do something, there'd be no better time to do it now. But still go back to the programming, because that's obviously, I try to remap where I was really happy in my younger life, if I can put it that way. Because somewhere in the last five years, I lost something. Something went very pear-shaped. So I'm trying to get back to that type of routine where I was really happy when I was younger. Because that's also got to do with your subconscious and things that you remember, and things that you did well maybe when you were younger, and that you could maybe that could pivot again into something new now. So that's basically what I try to do with that. I'm playing tennis again, like I was playing in Standard 6 and Standard 7 was the last time I played tennis. Playing basketball again, loving it.
Okay.
Yeah, so trying doing more little things that remind me of the younger years. So programming as well. So I started at the beginning of lockdown, when we had 5 weeks. I was dusting off my programming skills, and then got into the software testing side of things, doing this one project. And they've got a whole qualifications board, and this stuff is long-term skill shortage stuff. And I started studying certification, so I need to write the exams that I still need to do now. But so maybe go into more programming, software testing in the future. Okay. So I don't think there could be any worse job right now than trying to manage a sales team. I think it must be, constant fighting in boardrooms about nonsense.
Well, TG's in sales and he loves his job. But he does it on a different level. But I get what you're saying. Especially big business, especially corporate.
Yeah, there's millions and billions. There's a problem when you're 60% behind already for the year. And everybody's expecting these numbers to come in and nothing's happening. And it's just basically the recovery time is going to be massive. I don't think anybody can tell us.
I say 10 years at least, if not. But we were behind from the beginning. Before lockdown, we were screwed, huh? So,
But I think everything's positive. My wife's job is running 110%, and
excellent.
We're carrying on. I'm doing a couple of odd jobs here and there. And so we're keeping the pot on the go, but obviously, I need to now start pivoting into other things. But there is plans that we have, and hopefully, by the end of the week, we'll have a bit more direction with that.
Okay. Any questions, everybody? Ask last questions or anything? Favorite music? Love your T-shirt, Malboer. Love it. Ek gaan dit wys. Daar's 'n boer wat is on at the show now that we actually.
Yes, I love this guy's brand, and he's I don't know him personally. I haven't met the guy who started it, but he's done a whole lot of chili sauces now as well, and the stuff is flipping amazing. There's a yellow one that we love. We buy it every time we go to Mabulingu, we stop there, Tuka's the road thing, and then we buy it there because it's the only place that I can find it. But now I found it here in Waterkloof at the Biltong shop. They've also got it. They're also stocking their stuff.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So no, I think Marlboro is an awesome brand. They should get a lot more support from us locals.
Yeah, business, 100%.
I think, yeah, that's also something after lockdown. You pay 100 Rand extra for a shirt or 200 Rand extra for a T-shirt, but I don't think we understand, what we do to the economy if we go to H&M and we actually buy that other shirt for $200.
Or the little chong shop on the corner that sells. Yes, okay. It's cheap dirt, but it doesn't last you through the year.
So support your local artists. Support, buy their merchandise and support 100%. Your local businesses like these guys, and keep the economy going for the smaller families.
So you watch Germ, right? You watch Germ occasionally.
That guy, I love him.
So did you see what? So he said he'd give me one, so he gave me one, and then I ordered another one. So I just want to show you. Whoops. I'm hobbling along.
Output.
Yeah, input. And I'm leaning on that one. Oi.
I had a gout attack once in Amsterdam. I walked like that for about a week.
Yes, no guts. I know, hey? Guts. This foot before, in fact, that was a bit
So that's the other thing that, I think from me stopping drinking, I used to drink cataflams and painkillers all the time. Now I think I had one gout attack like post-Christmas, but that was a bit rough. Yes.
Too much nyama.
There was too much of everything. I think the chocolate mousse at the end, the 3 bowls, was maybe overkill. But I had gout the next day. But again, it was like one cataflam and it was gone. Where in the old days I'd have to drink like 4 cataflam, 17 Myprodols to try and get the pain away. No, it was bad. So that's the part I think that I've really like pre-programmed in my brain, is that you don't want to feel that pain. It's not normal. And it's not good for you. So shift it inside.
And you seem pretty active, which I think. So that's my goal.
Lockdown. Lockdown's been bad. I've been like pitched in the tent. I pitched a tent in the fridge, and no, it was hectic. We ate a lot of carbohydrates during this lockdown. But yeah, no, it's summer now. I think everything's getting back to normal. Wife's jogging. I'm playing tennis. We'll go for a jog tomorrow morning, so it's all good. Yeah, you got to stay active. Got to do it.
Yeah, it helps the brain as well. So hopefully, when my foot is better, in hopefully 4 to 6 weeks. But do you want to see my mugs? So that's the one I love.
What the hell is it? Everything I want in a man.
That's one of Germ's. And then there's this one. And I also like the politically correct horse, which is what I'll be ordering.
Great white, privileged shark. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So he makes my day a little bit brighter every morning. But it's been a real honor talking to you. Thank you so much for all your wisdom. Man. And we're gonna have your bird on, your other half.
I don't know, if my wisdom, the wisdom is one thing. I think I'm just like, I've got a story and I tell it, and like I said, you can write your own story. I think everybody needs to write their own story. Don't fucking wait for anybody to write your own story. Just go out and do it. You feel you got a problem, you probably got a problem, so sort out your shit. Don't leave it for 5 or 10 or 20 years. I think that's the only message I can really give to anyone. And if you've got somebody who needs help, who can't see the light, then there's ways and means. You just need to speak to your network.
Yeah. But I think also people, just quickly, well, thank you for that. But I think people, they can only, like you said in the beginning, way in the beginning, they have to decide to get help, because so often, I've seen it with domestic violence. A woman will get gebloksemed and she'll press charges and they'll go to court, and then 2 months down the line she's back with the oath, and it's hectic, but it's all that and that not self-love. But let's
Break free from the victim trap, Ruth. That's the book. Read it, and then
I'll definitely. Do you know who it's by?
I'll check for you and send it through.
Okay, no, don't stress. Google's
This
an
is
amazing thing.
This is guy with a backpack on a mountain. That's the cover.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
But we'll
Yeah,
chat.
guys, thanks all for joining us. Thank you. And stay strong, guys. And subscribe if you're new to the channel, and share the channel. You can share the streams to friends, family members. You can share them on WhatsApp. You can share them on Facebook. So spread the word. Thank you, Jacques, so much for your time. I
Thanks,
really
Ruth.
appreciate it.
Have a good one. We'll chat.
Cool. Stay on, and I'm
Cheers,
just going to say cheers to everybody. Stand for 2 secs. Cool. Bye, everybody. TTFN. Bye.
Bye.